But we as a community today are so focused on vibe coding and these small kind of agentic apps in the short term. What are we underestimating about this technology in the long term, especially for the enterprise?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sam touched on this. I think we were going to see it. We're going to have coworkers that are agents, and there's so many different aspects of the work that they're going to be involved in. Like even on coding now, we're like just thinking about, okay, can it produce the code? But coding at Databricks is only 20% of what R&D or an engineer does. We measured it. It's only 20% of their time. What are they doing the rest of the time? But it's like design docs, it's PRDs, it's discussions, meetings. But every one of them, when you start looking at it, it's like there's a place for agents too. And actually, if agents were involved in the whole process, it would probably also make the coding much better. It's context that's missing when they're writing the code. So we're going to see, I think end to end for all of this kind of productive work. We're going to see them show up and help accelerate everything that's happening inside of the enterprise. And it's going to happen, slowly. It'll take time, but that task horizon is just getting longer and longer and longer, which means they can take on more and more complicated tasks over time. So it's exciting times.
Yeah. And then maybe Sam, for you, I think you've said before that we're in this like once in a history kind of transition, right? And the world is changing much faster than we think. Maybe if you zoom out 5-10 years, what's like the most, surprising institution, right? Schools, cities, religions, hospitals, that you think will look unrecognizable, right? With the generative.
I think once in history is too big of a statement.
Okay,
I can say once in a generation.
Once in a generation, yeah.
I think the economy changes a lot. I don't think we're gonna like run out of meaning or purpose or fulfillment or anything like that. I think humans have such main character energy. We're so able to like not care about what the machines do. Like already, GPT-5 is probably smarter than most people, and they seem entirely unbothered. I feel pretty unbothered, even though I'm like, oh, it's a toast or whatever. So I don't think we have any of those crises of meanings in quite the way that. Or I'm less convinced, maybe we do. Future's hard to predict. I'm less convinced than other people are. But the economy feels like it should just absolutely radically transform. And maybe the whole maybe the structure of it changes in a pretty big way.
Any predictions or thoughts on your end on this, Ali?
I think, Sam has, he's the ones who touched on those are excellent. I'll give boring enterprise, what I see in my kind of vicinity, which is, I think, there's like this whole, in sales, for instance, in B2B organizations, there's sales engineering, but I think that's actually even more than R&D, this kind of technology agents is applicable there. The marketing function inside of a B2B function, like there's so much that the agent's already doing at Databricks, like, in the marketing funnel, like preparing campaigns and, preparing the material that's for the different audiences, all that's already being done by agents. So I think we're going to see that change. A lot of the inside of an enterprise like Databricks, there's so many different ops functions, and the people that basically are analysts, they're very smart people with financial backgrounds. They're typically sitting in Excel every day. A lot of that is already being completely transformed, and we're going to see that actually be even more revolutionized. So at least when I look at inside of a company like Databricks, it's pretty much every function is going to be completely transformed. That doesn't answer the society question, but there's a lot of enterprises out there that kind of a little bit look like Databricks. And I think already they're going to be vastly different in 5 years or maybe 3.
Yeah. And maybe, I know we talk about 5-10 years from now, but what are the most exciting enterprise AI use cases that you both see today?
I mean, there's so many, and it starts like we're taking on the smaller tasks. So like when you zoom in, it might not look like that exciting, but it's like what Sam said with the task horizons. But already like one thing that I thought was interesting, AstraZeneca had a use case with agents that basically sift through 400,000 documents, which is something no human could have done.
Yeah.
And it's in finance we have a lot of financial organizations that are now going through all of the SEC filings, all the related documents, and they're gleaning out alpha for investments that then they're giving to analysts that are then using them, humans that are using them. But it's just, this would be extremely tedious. Human would have to do that before. And now it's just, we take it for granted. It's like, yeah, of course, sift through all those thousands of pages and give back the response quickly to me. In insurance, we're seeing it, underwriting, again, like in the healthcare space, if you think about it, if you go to a hospital, there's like thousands of pages of papers that you have to sign that are produced for every hospital visit. And I don't know if anyone ever even looks at those. But now in the healthcare sector, they're having agents. More and more companies and startups are having actually all of that being fed to LLMs. that are going through it and, extracting tidbits, figuring out risk. So much of society is going to be changed. But it's going to happen, as you said, with those, simpler tasks that get more and more complicated and, over time increases.
I super agree with that answer, but just to add two other directions I find very interesting. Obviously, it's great that people are doing things, faster and better and cheaper. But the categories of things that you just wouldn't do at all before AI, and you already touched on this, but things that you just simply couldn't do are both interesting to me. So there's more focus on stuff you couldn't do, like read 4,000 pages of documents. And I think that's amazing that AI is just now churning through this. And it's so superhuman at literature search as a specific example and what that's meant. But this wouldn't do category just doesn't get as much attention. So I use coding again because it's the kind of thing I have the best personal mental model for. Coders, they can do their work faster, but there's just features they would never try. That would be at the bottom of someone's forever. I will never do that. I'm just not ever going to get there. And now if I can just kick off one extra agent, I am willing to do that. So seeing there were these good ideas that you just wouldn't do. And if you make the activation energy low enough, you make it cheap enough, you just say, okay, fine, I'll try it. That's been an interesting thing for me to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So the ability to launch async parallel, basically agentic jobs, right? Really changes how you think about the process of actually doing work, which is very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool because it's so fast and you can do so much with it. But now I feel like I'm so frustrated. It's why is it not? Why is it not? Why is it taking so long? Like I'm a minute to write 20,000 lines.
This is an area that I think we as an industry are underinvested in, is how we make this stuff dramatically faster.
Yeah, 100%.
As we're going to push on that.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen at Databricks where latency is king, right? For any interactive experience, whether it be a dashboard, and the same principle applies to agents as well.
Industry took a bet that, which I think was the right bet if you had to do one or the other, which is we were going to prioritize cost per token over, token to token latency, and designed most hardware that way. There's clearly demand for a much higher cost per token and a much lower latency.
Interesting. Is that now we're getting peeks into the hardware you're building?
The hardware that we'll eventually build. Not the first thing we'll do, but we want to do that at some point.
Yeah, great. We have a lot of folks dialing in here from we're data scientists or data engineers or some even CEOs and leaders at these enterprise companies. With this sort of generative AI revolution, maybe what's one thing that CEO or leader should do immediately now to prepare yourself, right, for this wave that's already here and it's continuing to roll forward?
I think I'll start with the boring stuff because it's people they're excited about what they can accomplish with AI, which is great. But before you get there, you have to have a good data foundation, and you have to make sure that you can secure it, and you can make sure that you have the right guardrails in place, and then also getting access to as much of your data in the enterprise. There's a lot of data that's siloed and tucked away. That's sitting in a database that's not accessible, or that's, actually not even, this is on-premise, it's not in the cloud, and so on. So making sure that you just can get all of that in one place, so that it's accessible as context to the AI will be kind of that differentiator, whether the AI immediately gets it right, whether it's within the task horizon or whether it's, it's just trying many, many things, because you just didn't give it that little context that's sitting tucked away in that siloed data set.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think that's it sounds so boring, but it's so important to get this to work.
Yeah. And we've seen sort of natural language is great, but it's also slightly ambiguous. So, when Ali knows this, or when our customers ask, hey, please compute the churn for me. Well, what is churn? We're it's really dependent on the enterprise context and the enterprise use case.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that definition exists somewhere in the organization, in a company, how you define revenue or how you define churn, or when a fiscal year starts, or what the quarters are, so it's just, can you find that as a context? Is the AI connected to that? If it is, it will be able to figure it out because the models are so freaking smart now, and they're getting smarter. Every release that comes, they're getting smarter and smarter. So we just have to make sure we can feed that context. So
there's a little bit of debate raging now on whether these agent patterns are just agents and tools in a loop, or whether you got to hand engineer all the individual pieces of the agents and wire them into some deterministic kind of workflow. Curious what you see.
If the models can do novel math, they're certainly smart enough to figure out how to do this out without hand engineering.
The hand engineering.
It may take us a little bit of time, and again, you do need, in the same way that an employee needs some training, needs to know where to look, where the enterprise stuff is, you'll have to like make that knowledge available, but they will not need custom training for it.
Yeah, totally agree. Isn't that a bitter lesson?
It is a better lesson at play.
A bitter lesson, right? You know, it's like, and we've seen it with most of the agents that people are building. The successful agents, when the people built them, talk about it, it's like, hey, I actually did the simplest thing. I didn't have lots of agents that called each other and lots of hand-tuned things. I just let the AI figure it out.
Yeah, great. Thank you both for joining us today. We really appreciate it. For the folks who are dialing in here, if you want to get ready and get started using OpenAI on Databricks, please check out AI Playground and also our Agentbricks product to get started building agents with OpenAI and the GPT-5 models on Databricks. Thank you
very
both
much.
for being here.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Great discussion.